First, though, let's bring in my colleague, our political editor, Andrew Clennell. And Andrew, we focused on it in a big way yesterday, the crisis in Alice Springs. Today, the Prime Minister is due to arrive there any moment now.
Yes, well, how about that, Kieran? Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has wasted little time in heading to the troubled town of Alice Springs, flying out of Canberra this afternoon. As Kieran said, set to arrive during the course of this program for a short visit. He's obviously learnt the lessons of his predecessor in terms of the political dangers of delaying visiting trouble spots, and he's jumped on the VIP plane to visit the trouble zone. Our own Matt Cunningham broke news of the trip this morning. There's been initial secrecy over it, no doubt for security reasons, also probably to attempt to avoid a Cobargo-style moment. This trip has been planned for some time. It was planned for December, but the PM got COVID. Peter Dutton had called yesterday for the PM to go. The PM will be joining the Chief Minister, who's come under heavy criticism for allowing the overturning of the grog ban in local communities. The PM will also be accompanied by his Indigenous Affairs Minister, Linda Burney, Pat Dodson and local MP Marion Scrymgour, and he will meet locals to hear their concerns. And here's one of those locals voicing his concerns to Laura Jays earlier today.
The Territory Families Minister should be sacked. She's also the Police Minister. She should be sacked on the spot. She is incompetent and she should go, and she should go today. Anthony Albanese, when he gets off the plane, the first thing he should say to Natasha Files, Kate Warden, go. She has to go, and she has to go today. She should be sacked, because if anyone else was in a position of management in a company or a government organisation and they had failed, and their stats keep going up in the wrong way, you have failed, you need to go. Give her a check and get rid of her today.
Well, I don't know if Anthony Albanese will be telling the Chief Minister that. I doubt it, but one can only imagine some federal action out of this, perhaps a federal police commitment to the town. The Alice Springs controversy, as we know, comes against the backdrop of the debate over an Indigenous voice to Parliament, a central plank of the government's agenda this year. We had Marion Scrymgour saying yesterday that she could not even think about the voice with this crisis going on. Skills Minister Brendan O'Connor has told Kieran today that this makes the voice debate more important.
The voice is required more now than ever because we've had decades and decades of failure when it comes to public policy in response to Indigenous matters.
Well, there was this poll in the 9 newspapers today showing support for the voice slowly dropping at just 47%, saying yes when the undecided question is put in. Still at 60% support with the straight yes-no question. Only 13% of people admit to knowing what the thing is about. I think there are two big obstacles to the voice referendum succeeding. One is whether the government can sell the concept well enough. Some doubts have already emerged about that. The other is Peter Dutton.
I think people want to know how it will work in Alice Springs at the moment. There's a national tragedy that's unfolding, and how will the voice help improve the lives of those young kids in Alice Springs?
He should provide the resources to supplement what the Northern Territory government needs on the ground so that these kids can just lead a normal life like we would expect of our kids in capital cities. I think there are a lot of Indigenous leaders really who are shaking their head in bewilderment at the Prime Minister at the moment because he won't provide the detail. Everybody wants to see a better outcome for Indigenous Australians. Those kids who are in Alice Springs committing crime at the moment, in many cases because the environment at home is not safe to go back to. But the Prime Minister's proposed this change to our Constitution, the most important document we have in our country, and he's not willing to provide any of the details.
If there is a strong Indigenous voice coming out of the Northern Territory at the moment that they want the Prime Minister to lead, to act and to help them out, but the Prime Minister is not listening to that voice, then I think most Australians would say, well, why not? I mean, what's his reason for not providing that support and that leadership?
Now, I said yesterday, and I repeat today, that history shows referendums do not succeed in this country without bipartisan support. But traditionally, governments don't win a majority in the parliament with 32% of the primary vote either. And that happened last year. So these historical sort of rules are there to be broken. Well, Indigenous leader Noel Pearson made a plea to Peter Dutton yesterday to get stuck into the PM on any issue at all, but not this one.
This referendum is the most important question concerning Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians since the First Fleet. It is. We've got to understand what is at stake here, and what is at stake is the chance for reconciliation. And if this referendum is kiboshed through game playing and a spoiling game by the opposition, we will lose the opportunity, I think, forever,